Okay, let's continue into the next non-parametric method, which we call it as sign rank test, which also known as Wilcoxon sign rank test. Okay, this test is specifically designed for two related sample or two dependent sample. Okay, the assumption that involved here, the sample should be in random, and then the measurement scale are at least interval. Okay, so the procedure that involved in conducting the sign rank test, or the other name as Wilcoxon sign rank test. Okay, first, if you have it also applicable into for one population, one sample. Okay, if for one sample, first you need to subtract median not from each sample value, and discarding all the differences that equals to 0. Okay, number 2, rank the differences by ignoring the sign. Okay, which is we have to rank from the smallest to the largest. And then number 3, if the absolute value of the two or more differences is the same, we will assign to each of the average of the rank. Okay, but again, for the two related sample, okay, if we have two dependent sample, okay, meaning that we want to testing the median 1 minus median 2 equals to d naught. Okay, so what should we do? First, we have to calculate the difference for each pair. Okay, and then we have to subtract the d naught from each differences, if any lah. Okay, if the differences has been mentioned in the question. Okay, and then we have to rank the differences by ignoring the sign, okay, which is from smallest to the largest. Okay, but remember, what should we do next? We have to calculate the W plus, which is the sum of rank to the positive difference, and W minus, which is sum of rank to the negative difference, and also the W. Okay, W is the smaller of W plus or W naught. Okay, why we have to identify or calculate these three value, W plus, W minus, and W, because since we have the left tail, right tail, and also the two tail. Okay, so this value will be used for one of the tests that we will use lah. Okay, and then the statistical table that involved here is table 17. Okay, so the five step that involved in conducting the Wilcoxon sign rank test. First, as usual, you have to develop the null hypothesis and also the alternative hypothesis. Okay, so just in case, if the question involving one sample, the H0 and H1 here, okay, the H0 is median equals to median naught. Okay, for the left tail, as usual, median less than median naught. Right tail, median greater than median naught. Two tail, median not equal median naught. Okay, then for if you have two sample, as usual, H0 kita adalah median population 1 equals to median population 2. For the left tail, median population 1 less than median population 2. Right tail, median population 1 greater than median population 2. And for the two tail, median population 1 not equal median population 2. Okay, so the test statistic involved here for the left tail is W plus. For the right tail is W minus. And for the two tail is W. Okay, and then our critical value for the left and right tail is W alpha. For the two tail, don't forget to divide your alpha by 2. Okay, and then our decision rule is we will reject H0 if the test statistic is less than the critical value. Okay, so in other words, in order for you to remember the decision rule, the rule is we will reject H0 if the test statistic less than the critical value. So same goes to the right tail. We will reject if the test statistic less than the critical value. Also, for the two tail, we will reject the Null hypothesis if the test statistic less than the critical value, and then you have to make the decision. Okay, now let's take a look into example 4. It is claimed that a senior college can increase his or her score in the major field area of the graduate record examination by at least 50 points if he or she is provided with sample problem in advance. To test this claim, 20 college seniors are divided into 10 pairs, such that the students in each match pair have almost the same overall grade point average for their first 3 years in college. Sample problem and answer are provided at random to one member of each pair 1 week prior to the examination. The examination scores are given below. Test the null hypothesis that at the 5% level of significance, the sample problem increase score by 50 points. Again, the alternative hypothesis that it increase less than 50 points. Okay, so kat sini kita ada 2 dependent sample. Okay, which is 20 college senior divided into 10 pairs. Okay, so apa yang kita ada kat sini adalah dia punya score lah. Okay, so the score in terms of with sample problem and without sample problem. Okay, so what should we do in order to conduct the Wilcoxon rank test? Okay, first you need to find the difference. Okay, different for each pair. Okay, so so in this case I will do with sample problem minus without sample problem. Okay, so for the first one, for the difference here, we will get this one is 22, and then 81. 621 minus 540 is 81, and then 663 minus 688, we will get negative 25, and then seterusnya 77, 27, negative 23, this one is 23, negative 29, 30, and lastly is 51. Okay, now the difference or the increment has been mentioned here is 15 points. So 15 point here is our D naught. So what next we should do? We subtract the difference with the D naught. So our D naught is 50. So next, what should we do is we calculate di minus D naught. Okay, so 22 minus 50, we will get negative 28. Okay, this one is negative 28, and then 81 minus 50, we will get 31. Okay, and then negative 75, 27, negative 23, negative 73, negative 27, negative 79, negative 37, and lastly is 1. Okay, now what should you do? You have to rank. Okay, rank this one. Okay, di minus D naught. Okay, from smallest to the largest by ignoring the negative sign. Okay, so here we will start with the smallest one is 1, ranking sorry, the difference, the smallest difference here is starting from 1. So 1 will be given ranking number 1. Okay, so this one is number 1, and then number 2 is negative 23, and sorry. Okay, the next smallest value is referring to this one, which is negative 23. So this one will be ranking number 2. So 1, okay, number 2, number 3 is so number 3 here we have 2 repeated number, which is 27 and negative 27, meaning that we will assign the average rank of 3 and 4. So meaning that we will given ranking 3.5 and 3.5. 3.5, 3.5, and then ranking number 5 is this one, 5, and then we have 6, 7, 8, 9, and also the last one is 10. Okay, so next step, what should we do is we have to calculate the W plus and W minus. Okay, so W plus here is referring to the ranking. Okay, the sum of the ranking for the positive difference. Okay, and W minus is sum of the ranking for the negative difference lah. Okay, so for W plus, you have to add up this one. We have to add up this value. Okay, kita akan cari yang positive difference lah. So this one, 6, 3.5, and also 1. So we add up, kita akan dapat 10.5. Okay, so W plus is 10.5. Sorry. W plus is 10.5, and then for the W minus, we have to add up the ranking for the negative difference, which is 5, 9, 2, 8, 3.5, 10, and 7. So the total W minus is equivalent to 44.5. This one is 44.5. Okay, now we can proceed to the 5th step. Okay, so our H0 and H1 here is, we want to test whether the difference between median population 1 minus median population 2 is equivalent to 50 versus median population 1 minus median population 2 less than 50. Okay, so this one is median population 1 minus median population 2 equals to 50 versus median population 1 minus median population 2 less than 50. Okay, this one. Okay, so this one is the left tail test. Okay, number 2, we have to calculate the test statistic. Okay, so our test statistic here is W plus, since it was the left tail test. So W plus here is equivalent to 10.5. Okay, the ranking, the sum of the positive ranking that we have calculated previously. Okay, step number 3, we have to find the value of the critical value. So critical value here is W alpha. So alpha here is 0.05. Okay, so we can refer the table 70. Okay. Okay, so this is the table 70. So apa yang awak boleh cari? Awak kena cari the value of the critical value, which is W alpha. Alpha here is 0.05. Okay, for n equals to 10. So n equals to 10 is here. So the W alpha is W 0.05 is equivalent to 11. Okay, kita bukan ambil probability value ya, kita ambil value this one. Okay, W alpha dia berapa? Okay, so for n equals to 10 and at alpha is 0.05, so the W 0.05 is equivalent to 11. Okay, so W alpha kita adalah 11. Okay, so step number 4, our decision rule. Reject H0 if W plus less than or equals W alpha. Okay, so now we can see that since W plus equivalent to 10.5, which is less than 11, so we reject the null hypothesis. Reject H naught. So what can we conclude here? When we reject the null hypothesis, meaning that the increment between the increment between median population 1 and median population 2 is less than 50. Okay, since we reject the null hypothesis, ni kita reject Vx. So maksudnya kita akan terima H1 lah. So meaning that we can say that the increment or the difference between median population 1 and median population 2 is less than 50 points. Okay. Okay, now look at example 5. A paired experiment was conducted to compare the two populations. The data is shown in the following table. Okay, so it has been mentioned here. It was the paired sample. Okay. Use a sign rank test to verify the difference between the two populations. Okay, use alpha equals to 0.05. So we have two population here. Sorry. Okay, so we have 7 pair here. 7 pair here, and then and their data lah. Okay, so what should we do here? We have to find the difference first, okay, for each pair, for the 7 pairs, and then we have to ranking the difference. Okay, untuk kat sini dia tak bagi tahu denote dia berapa, so we don't have to subtract the difference with the denote. Okay, so now let's calculate the DI first. Okay, so 8.9 minus 8.8, we will get 0.1. 8.1 minus 7.4, we will get 0.7. And then we will have, this one is 0.3, negative 0.1, 0.5, 0.2, and lastly is 0.5. Okay, now we have to give rank for each difference. Okay, by ignoring the negative sign. Okay, so the smallest value here is referring to 0.1. So kita ada dua 0.1 kat sini, 0.1 and also negative 0.1. So meaning that kita akan beri ranking 1.5 here. 1.5, 1.5, and then this one is number 3. Number 4, 5 and 6 is 0.5. So kita akan bagi rank 5.5 lah. 5.5, 5.5. And then this one is 7. Okay, now we have to calculate. Okay, calculate first W plus and also W minus. Okay, because since this one dia tak kata greater or less than, dia punya, kita punya alternatif nanti. So the hints kat sini dia kata difference, so nanti dia akan jadi median population 1 not equal median population 2 lah. So kita kena cari W plus and W minus, because kita akan gunakan our test statistic the smallest value between W plus and W minus. Okay, so W plus here we will add up the positive difference. Okay, so positive difference here, this one lah semua ni, kecuali yang 1.5. Okay, so bila kita tambahkan kita punya W plus, we will get 26.5. W minus is 1.5. Okay, now we can develop our 5 step. Okay, so number 1, the H naught and H1. Okay, median population 1 equals median population 2 versus median population 1 not equal median population 2. So this one is two-tailed test. Okay, number 2, our test statistic is the smallest value of between W plus and W minus. So meaning that kita gunakan notation W. So W equals to 1.5. Okay, the smallest between 26.5 and 1.5. Okay, since because kita punya H1 kita adalah unequal. Okay, so if you refer back the table that I have summarized first tadi dekat procedure, kalau two-tailed kita akan cari the smallest between W plus and W minus. Okay, so W here is equivalent to 1.5. Okay, step number 3, we have to find the value of critical value. So our critical value is W alpha over 2. So alpha is 0.05 divided by 2 is alpha 0.025. Okay, now we refer. Kita akan refer. Okay, again kita akan refer table 17 untuk cari W 0.025 for n equals to 7. Okay, so n equals to 7 is here. N equals to 7 for 0.025. Okay, so the W alpha is equivalent to 2. Okay, kita nak cari 0.025. Okay, again, this one. For n equals to 7, W 0.025, so the W is equivalent to 2. Okay, so this one is 2. Okay, step number 4, the decision rule. Reject H0 if test statistic less than or equal critical value, ataupun reject H0 if W less than or equal W alpha over 2. Okay, since W is 1.5 less than 2, okay, this one is W alpha over 2. Since 1.5 is less than 2, so we reject the null hypothesis. So we can conclude here, there is no difference between the two population. Okay, because we reject the null hypothesis here, we will accept H1, so meaning that the median between population 1 and population 2 are unequal. Okay, so we can write as we can write as median population 1 not equal median population 2. Okay, now let's continue into Wilcoxon Rank Sum test, or sometimes we call it as Mann-Whitney test. Okay, this one is specifically for two independent sample. Okay, kalau tadi Wilcoxon rank test is for dependent sample, Mann-Whitney test or Wilcoxon Rank Sum test is for two independent sample. Okay, we used to test the equality of two independent population median, which is an alternative of independent t-test. Okay, when the normality assumption does not holds. Okay, so the assumption that we have to check here is it should be a random sample, and that is come from the independent population. The measurement scales at least ordinal, and then the both population have same shape population. Okay, so what are the procedure involving in Mann-Whitney test? Okay, first you have to identify what are the N1 and N2. Okay, N1 is the number of observation in the smaller groups. Okay, maksudnya kalau ada dua population yang sample size dia tak sama, awak kena identify dulu N1 dengan N2. So N1 adalah specifically for the smaller group. Nah, kalau N dia yang kecil, so kita assign dia sebagai N1 ataupun population 1 lah. Okay, N2 is the number of observation in the larger groups. Okay, but if the sample size for both population are equal, so awak boleh assign lah mana-mana satu untuk jadi N1, mana-mana satu untuk jadi N2. Okay, so and then we have to assign a rank for the combination of both sample. Okay, and then kita tengok kedua-dua data tu, kedua-dua population tu, and then kita akan bagi rank regardless of their groups lah. Maksudnya tengok keseluruhan and then kita assign ranking. Okay, yang smallest value ranking number 1 dan seterusnya. Okay, seterusnya you have to calculate W1. So W1 is sum of rank according to N1, which is referring to the smaller groups. W2 sum of rank corresponding to N1, which is the larger groups. And then we have to calculate U1. Okay, U1 is equivalent to W1 minus N1 times N1 plus 1 over 2. And then we calculate U2. U2 equivalent to W2 minus N2 times N2 plus 1 divided by 2. And then we have to identify U. U is the minimum between U1 and U2. Okay, and then we will use table 19 to find the critical value. Okay, so the first step involved here, as usual, the null hypothesis is median population 1 equals median population 2. For H1, for left tail, median population 1 less than median population 2. For the right tail, median population 1 greater than median population 2. And for the two tail, median population 1 not equal median population 2. So our test statistic, for the left tail, kita akan guna U1 yang kita calculate tadi. Kalau right tail, U2. Okay, kalau two tail ni kita akan guna notation U. U adalah minimum value between U1 and U2. Yang mana satu minimum. Okay, and then the critical value, okay, for the left tail, U alpha N1 S2, N2. Same goes to the right tail, U alpha N1 and N2. But for the two tail, don't forget to divide the alpha by 2. Okay, and then the decision rule is reject hash not if U1 less than or equal U alpha. For the right tail, reject hash not if U2 less than or equal U alpha. And for the two tail, reject hash not if U less than or equal U alpha over 2. In conclusion, we can write as the decision rule is for the ketiga-tiga, left tail, right tail, or two tail, kita boleh buat dia punya rules dia adalah reject hash not if the test statistic less than or equal the critical value. Semua sama je. This one less. Okay, and then we make a decision and conclusion. Okay, let's take a look into example 6. Okay, the nicotine content of 2 brands of cigarettes measured in milligram was found to be as follows. Okay, so kita ada 2 population here, brand A and brand B, and also the measurement of the nicotine for both brands. Okay, so kita ada brand A and brand B. Okay, kalau kita tengok kat sini, brand A kita ada 8, and kita NA equals to 8, NB equals to 10. Okay, so tadi ingat kita kena assign dulu N1 and N2, population 1 dengan population 2, yang mana satu tengok yang N dia kecil, kita akan assign dia N1. Okay, so meaning that the smallest sample size here is referring to brand A. So brand A kita akan assign N1, brand 2 kita akan assign N2. So meaning that N1 kita adalah 8, N2 kita adalah 10. Okay, so next what should we do? Okay, sekarang ni kita nak bagi rank untuk kesemua dataset ni. Okay, regardless of their brand. So nak senang, nak mudah, apa yang awak boleh buat, awak list out the data first. Okay, tapi list out tu dengan cara sorting the data set from the smallest to the largest, because sometimes kalau awak tak buat macam ni, awak akan tersilap nak bagi ranking untuk data set tu. Tak ada masalah kalau awak tak nak buat sorting the data set ni pun tak apa. Terus identify semua data set ni, cari ranking lah, cari starting from the smallest value of the data set. Tapi kalau nak cara lain yang panjang sedikit, apa nak perlu buat, awak sort dulu data awak and then baru bagi rank to avoid the mistaken during giving the ranking to the data set. Okay, so ada dua cara. First, terus bagi ranking, tengok mana yang paling rendah for whole data set. Ataupun yang kedua, awak rank data tu kita susun dulu secara ascending orders. Okay, and then baru kita bagi rank. Okay, now so kita boleh bagi rank lah untuk kita punya data set. Okay, so saya dah sort dah dulu data saya. So senanglah untuk kita bagi ranking. So the smallest one will be given ranking number 1. This one is ranking number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10 and 11. So this one is 10.5, 10.5. This one is 12, 13, 14 and 15 is, this one is 14.5, 14.5, 16, 17 and also 18. Okay, now apa yang perlu kita buat? Awak kena add upkan ranking untuk kita nak cari W1 and W2. W1 referring to the population that have smallest value of n. Okay, W2 referring to ranking to the population that has largest n lah. Okay, so saya differentiate these two population by using satu okay, untuk brand A saya guna blue font. Okay, and two saya guna red font. Okay, so saya akan add upkan dahulu untuk dataset yang berwarna biru, dia punya ranking dia. Okay, so saya highlight dulu. So this one lah, so kita akan add upkan dulu. This one is W1 W1. So kita add upkan ranking untuk dataset yang berwarna biru. Okay, so kita akan dapat, finally we will get the total W1 is equivalent to 93. Okay, so W1 equivalent to 93. Okay, W2 yang merah lah pula. Okay, kita add upkan this one lah, ranking untuk data from brand B. Okay, tambahkan warna hijau yang saya highlight hijau. So maksudnya kita akan dapat W2 here is equivalent to 78. Okay, now kita akan calculate U1 and also U2. Okay, so U1 equivalent to, the formula is W1 minus N1 times N1 plus 1 divided by 2. Okay, so W1 here is 93 minus N1 kita ada 8 darab dengan 9 bahagi dengan 2. So finally we will get U1 is equivalent to 57. Okay, U1 is equivalent to 57. Okay, and then U2 pula. U2 formula dia W2 minus N2 times N2 plus 1 divided by 2. Okay, so W2 is 78 minus 10 times 10 plus 1 is 11 divided by 2. Okay, so this one is equivalent to 23. Okay, so soalan dia, test the hypothesis at 5% level of significance. The median nicotine content of the two brands are equal. Again, the alternative that there are unequal. Okay, so our first step is H0 and H1. So this one is median dia punya H0 H1. Jangan lupa untuk non-para kita akan guna notation median. So median population 1 equals median population 2 versus median population 1 not equal median population 2. So this one is two tail lah. Okay, step number 2, our test statistic adalah the minimum between U1 and U2. Minimum value of U1, U1, U2. So the minimum one is between 57 and 23 is 23. So U kita adalah 23. Okay, step number 3, calculate the critical value. So our critical value is U alpha over 2. So alpha is 0.05 divided by 2, alpha 0.025. Okay, now kita akan refer table 19. Okay, so kita cari N1 kita 8, N2 kita 10. Okay, at alpha 0.025. 10 is here, N2 is 10, and 8 at 0.025. So the critical value is equivalent to 17. Okay, again, N1 is 8 at alpha 0.025. Okay, N2 is 10. So this one is 17. Okay, so our critical value is 17. So this one is 17. Okay, step number 4, decision rule. Reject hash not if U less than or equal U alpha over 2, U 0.025. Okay, so since U is equivalent to 23 is less than 17, so we fail to reject hash not. Jadi kita akan reject kalau test statistik kita less than the critical value. But since our test statistic is 23 greater than 17, we fail to reject the null hypothesis. So we can conclude that the median nicotine content of the two brands are equal. Okay, so the median nicotine content between population 1 and population 2 is equal, since we fail to reject the null hypothesis. Okay, ataupun dalam bentuk ayat, awak boleh ambil this one lah, ayat yang ni. Median nicotine content of the two brands are equal. Okay, this one, median nicotine content of the two brands are equal. Dia punya conclusion, ayat conclusion. Okay, next example. Information below are the data regarding expenses RM median from a few organizations on information system and technology in 2021 from the private and public sectors in state A. Assuming that population is not normal, use an appropriate non-parametric technique to test at 5% level of significance whether the expenses on information system and technology from the public sector is greater than the private sectors. Public greater than private sectors. Okay, so kalau kita tengok kat sini, private and public sector, kita punya N kita tak balance, tak sama. Okay, so we need to identify which one are N1, which one are N2. So N1 is referring to the smallest sample size, smallest population that population that has the smallest sample size. So the smallest sample size here is referring to the public sector. So meaning that public sector will be assigned N1. Okay, private will be N2. So N1 kita equivalent to 7. N1 is equivalent to 7, N2 equals to 9. Okay, saya guna untuk N1 saya guna warna merah, N2 saya guna warna biru. So our next step is we have to give rank for the combination of N1 and N2. Okay, so saya dah sortkan dataset from smallest to largest. Now we can give the ranking to the data set. Okay, so the ranking is given by, so this one ranking number 1, number 2, number 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So kita akan bagi ranking 8. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. Okay, now we have to calculate. Okay, since tadi kita nak test kat sini greater than, so greater than dia adalah referring to right tail. So right tail kita kena calculate U2. Okay, so U2. So U2 kena calculate dulu W2. Okay, so W2 adalah rank, okay, sum of rank for the population number 2 lah. Population number 2 kat sini adalah yang berwarna biru. So kita akan tambahkan, okay, ranking untuk private sector lah, this one. Okay, yang saya highlight ni, kita add up the ranking. So finally we will get W2 is equivalent to, okay, W2 is equivalent to 56. Okay, kita tambahkan 1 tambah 3, 4, 5, 6 dan seterusnya yang saya highlight itu sahaja. Okay, so 56. Now kita akan calculate U2. So U2 is equivalent to W2 minus N2 times N2 plus 1 divided by 2. So U2 is equivalent to 56 minus N2 kita ada 9. 9 kali dengan 10 bahagi 2. Okay, so this one is equivalent to 11. Okay, so kita dah calculate dia punya test statistik. Now kita boleh conduct 5 step. Okay, so H0 H1 kita adalah median public, which is N1, equals median private. Okay, versus median public greater than median private. Okay, step number 2, our test statistic adalah U2. So U2 equivalent to 11. Okay, yang ketiga, our critical value kita adalah U alpha N1 N2. Okay, so alpha kita adalah 0.05. Kalau soalan tak bagi tahu, by default it was 0.05. N1 and N2. N1 kita 7, N2 kita 9. Okay. So kalau kita tengok kat sini, kita punya table. So kita nak cari alpha 0.05. N1 kita 7. Okay, N2 kita 9. At alpha 0.05. 7 and 9. N2 kita 9. 9. So this one is 15. Okay, so our critical value is 15. Okay, so we can return as 15. Okay, step number 4, dia punya decision rule. Reject H0 if U less than U alpha 7 dan 9. Okay, since U2 is equivalent to 11 less than 15, so we reject the H0, reject the null hypothesis. Okay, since kita punya test statistic is less than the critical value, so what can we say here? When we reject the null hypothesis, we can say that tengok balik ayat dia. This one. The expenses on information system and technology from the public sector is greater than the private sector. Okay. Paling simple kita boleh tulis median population 1 is greater than median population 2 in term of the expense lah. Okay, dalam segi ayat awak boleh ambil yang ni. This one. The expenses on information system and technology from the public sector is greater than the private sector since we reject the null hypothesis. Okay, boleh ambil ayat yang ni. The expenses on information system and technology from the public sector is greater than the private sector. This is the conclusion. Kalau nak dapat ayat yang lengkap lah. Okay.